Hey guys.
Gentlemen.
Hello.
Good
back
to be
together
back.
again.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've done anything. Sorry, I'm just turning my alerts off. I should have done that before pushing record.
That happens.
Big red flag in the age of the MGA world.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than actually being on live on the floor of a conference and all the noises around that. So the small annoyances of beeps I've learned is maybe not the end of the world, even though I've previously made it the end of the world.
Yeah. What was your verdict, Dylan, on the ITC podcast studio?
Well, we weren't allowed to talk shit about them.
Yeah. Why did you think I was going to talk shit, Doug? Come on. All right. So the answer to that is love to see some isolation from when we're recording. Obviously, love those guys. Love the conference. Lot got done. But I definitely love to. I do value that quiet space so that we can have a great conversation with guests and between ourselves here. So,
you know what? I think Bill's going to tell us, get a freaking room.
You know what? He is.
Which is fine. Whatever. We're going to go golfing with Bill, Dylan, soon.
All right.
I got to get that set up.
I need to get better at golf between now and then.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
You'll be better than me. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I don't know. You golf more than I do.
Yeah. But not very well. So, guys, I didn't really want to do the podcast this morning. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, he's so passionate.
But now I'm happy. Now that you guys are here, I just got a lot of shit to do today, and
well, that is the life of a startup founder, right?
Yeah.
When you get down to it, that's probably a realization that anyone who's watching this show and wants to create an MGA, if you're in that phase of trying to decide whether you want to do this or not,
you'll have a lot of shit to do every day.
You'll have a lot to do, a lot of hours, and you're going to be all over the place, and you're going to travel and be exhausted from the travel, and you still need to log in on that plane and then fight with the Wi-Fi, and doesn't matter. You got to do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for an easy corporate life. Yeah.
My audible sigh out. Although I don't know, guys, like all the easy corporate jobs are going to get replaced by AI. So
AI created by Turris and Loro.
Probably, yeah. We don't create our AI; we buy it.
There we go.
Apply it.
There's a lot of honesty there.
Yeah. Well,
so on to another episode then, guys. What we're up to? This is episode 16 or 17, right? We've done quite a few this year.
Maybe, but also we should be at like 25, right?
Yeah.
Rob's not going
to. We've got a few coming out before the end of the year, though.
We've not been consistent. We need to be better. Next year, resolution time, guys. It's getting close. Should be come up with some resolutions.
We've got 2 or 3 really interesting ones coming out before the end of the year that we need to get.
You've done a really good job. We do have. I have a couple pending that I'll get to. But this one, the one we have today, actually, this is what I remembered who we had on. I was excited again. Not so much for you and Peter, Dylan. But,
ouch.
Yeah, John's an interesting guy.
Yeah, John is interesting. So our guest today, John Songin, is a part of Worldlink, or an MGA that focuses on all things aviation. He's got an incredible background, passion for that industry. The story is slightly different to the usual guests we have on this show. So John was very much corporate underwriter, worked for some of the biggest names in our space, and went into an existing MGA that had its challenges at the time, and has really turned that around into an absolute kind of incredible business within its space. So I think that transformation story is something slightly different to what we've had before, but it's a very interesting one. So we'll get into that today.
Yeah,
exciting. Cool. And then I guess we're going to find out if these auroras are knocking down drones and aircraft all around the world as we get hit by this magnetic storm.
I didn't even know about that, Dylan. So,
Oh, you haven't heard about that? That's just everywhere. I don't know. Is everyone seeing the
startup life?
The auroras?
Yeah, I guess we have other shit to do, Dylan.
Okay, well, I mean, look outside.
Well, educate us.
Touch some grass. Look at the stars.
I see some gray clouds outside.
Touch some stars.
All right. Well, so do tell. I'm excited.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You've not heard about what's been going on. This has been one of the strongest. We had this massive. When the sun, of course, throws a whole bunch of energy out at the Earth and everything around, right? We can get these storms that are going to, and I'm not the person we should be asking about this. I just want to be very clear that makes it so that we can see the northern lights much lower than Arctic Circle. So I think there's been reports all the way down to Georgia, northern Florida on the East Coast. Missouri had some incredible ones. I saw some incredible pictures from Missouri. And then, of course, if you are more north, then they're just absolutely insane. They were getting hit by G5 level waves, and it's just the northern lights are spectacular. So some of these, it was lighting up the ground. Any place with snow cover, you're now getting it from the brightness from the northern lights is hitting then the snow and turning it all green and red. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. These pictures
Did you see in Virginia?
Very lightly, yeah.
Oh,
Some friends got to see it a little bit better. With a camera, you can pick it up a lot better. So there's been incredible photographs from Virginia.
Okay.
But I mean, with my naked eye, I was wandering outside, checking it out last night. It's I mean, you can see a little bit, but it's some of my friends, I guess, stayed out or saw it at different times also, because these waves are hitting at different times. So you can be there 5 minutes later, it can look totally different. So it's not like I stayed outside all day.
And John
provides to the show. We want photos of people's own view, right? That'd be a great thing to add in the comments to this show.
Very cool.
The best photo wins an Age of the MGA merchandise item to be decided.
John's waiting in the backstage now, but before we get to him, so Dylan, it sounds like he's giving insurance for Northern Lights.
Yes, yeah, for trip insurance for people who are trying to see the Northern Lights and don't see them on their trip. He just, it's parametric. He pays for it. I'm pretty sure that's how this works, right?
John, actually, he just left. He's like, no. So we did get some comments. Have you guys seen some of the comments that we're getting about the show? Suggestions.
Terrible host, cancel it now.
Sound effects was one.
Wow.
And they want us to add in like a jingle or something. What was
I think like morning drive radio type thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they do that in the UK, but here, for a while there's all these morning DJs that did. It was very cheesy, to be quite frank.
Yeah, but I guess requested. And Dylan, you'll like this one. More claims talk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So
well,
maybe we should bring John on and talk about some of his big claims.
Let's do it.
All right. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, John. Guys. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I saw you walk off, and I thought maybe you decided to leave. You didn't want to do it anymore.
Admittedly, I was just trying to get the light figured out here, so it's all
good. You look really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Where are you, John? Did you go into a studio for this?
No, I did not. I'm in our office here in Chicago, so we're in one of those shared working spaces, and just reserved the brightest wall I could find, which
Beautiful.
Was the orange one. So
a nice Dutch orange.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure it's not the Northern Lights just shining in the window and giving you a nice glow?
Unfortunately, I have a west-facing view, so I was not able to see the Northern Lights. But this, I don't know if this really compares.
Have you heard about this, John? This phenomenon taking place recently?
It's very prevalent over Lake Michigan in Chicago just because of the lack of light pollution. So you could see it pretty clearly, actually, in the last 48 hours or so.
Yeah. And we were making some presumptions that this might have an effect on your business, which we'll get into in a minute here.
Some rather tenuous presumptions. Yeah.
Unfounded.
Yeah.
John, so we introduced you as someone who's been through the classic corporate structure, and love to hear the background of that, and went into an existing MGA in Worldlink. Maybe rather than me paraphrase that, you could tell us in your own words your story to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So I wanted to be a pilot. Growing up, I lived very close to, I'm from Buffalo, New York originally. I lived very close to the Buffalo airport, close enough that when I was a kid, my parents bought me like a police radio scanner that I could plug in the air traffic control frequencies and I could listen to them at night. Because at the time, mornings were really busy, and then also the late evening arrivals into Buffalo. So aviation has always been a passion of mine. I ended up going to school. My degree is in aeronautics. I'm a commercially licensed pilot, but similar to people in my age range, graduated during kind of the economic downturn of 2008, 2009, and needed a different avenue for work. And at the time, my family was living in Arizona, and I found myself looking at a job working in aviation insurance, which I had no idea what that was. All I knew is that it was related to airplanes, and I could still be around the industry that I had such a passion for. And so that's how I started about 16 years ago, working for AIG. It was a different name at the time, Chartis, if we remember. I actually don't think they'd even rebranded to Chartis yet. It was kind of still in that transition phase. But that was my first entry into the insurance business, and I haven't left. So it's been really rewarding for me. I've been to a couple of different larger multinational conglomerates, like large organizations. Found myself working for a London syndicate. Well, I'll back up a little bit. One of the things that really attracted me to the insurance business once I kind of started learning what it was just the diversity of what this business entails and what it's all about. I think it's a story that we need to continue to tell, particularly to the Gen Z and Gen Alpha and the other, younger generations that are coming into this business. Financial services in general is just such a broad scope, and it kind of gets looked partially on, investment banking and asset management and things like that. But insurance is a huge part of that. So anyway, the diversity of kind of what the business looked like outside of what I knew, which was aviation and airplanes and kind of that very niche specialty part of the space. And so I exited the aviation space for a little bit. I did agriculture underwriting, so farm and ranch, dairies, kind of the non-commercial or middle market commercial type business within the agriculture sector. 100% different than what I was doing within aviation. Learning how to underwrite auto and umbrella and property was completely different than what I had been doing. But then I really had a passion kind of in the sales and marketing side. So I joined the distribution team at Allianz. At the time, it was sales and marketing, but essentially it was the distribution arm or function within Allianz, and spent a good 5 or 6 years within that group, across like a wide spectrum within that part of the business. And I did that because I wanted to better understand what this business was about. And so I did that for about 4 to 5 years. Left, went to a London syndicate that started a U.S. operation called Ascot Group, and led their distribution efforts in the central U.S. So basically, Chicago north to the Canadian border and down to Texas. And then had an opportunity to join WorldLink about 2.5 years ago, which I did. So I've taken a very interesting path within the business, but it's all for specific reasons. Expanding my knowledge base and understanding of this business. With that came relationships with people that I would not have met if I wouldn't have taken kind of that detour outside of the aviation space, which I still have such a passion for. But then ultimately, it did bring me back to this, which is building an organization that still sits within that specialty niche that I kind of grew up in. So hope that gives you a little perspective on who I am and what my journey has been.
Yeah, I love that. We talk a lot on here about people making a jump from a very safe corporate job And often it's been under the starting their very own thing. But like Peter had said, like you came into something else, but I mean, I think, your fingerprints are now all over that. It's still quite a risky, move, even though not you starting the company itself. Like, how did you was it just the passion for wanting to get back into something aviation related, or the ability to say, hey, like I want more autonomy, like I want this to fail or succeed on my own merit and mine alone? What kind of pushed you to like join Worldlink?
Great question. Definitely there were risks for doing anything where you're doing something basically on your own, right? I did spend a couple of years when I was at Ascot spending a lot of time with their programs or MGA team. And that kind of was something that really piqued my interest. And then there were, lots of conversations and things that had happened that ultimately, steered me towards this opportunity. I think, again, what's unique about this is I didn't necessarily start it from scratch, right? I'm not really a founder of this business, but I was brought in to rebuild an organization and bring it through its next level of maturity or maturation, right? And there's risk involved with that, right? At the time when I joined, the business was going through pretty much a complete re-underwriting of its entire portfolio, long-term carrier partner, but ultimately that was the path that the business had been on. And so what really intrigued me was not only was it rebuilding the core or the foundation of the business, but then saying, what can we actually do with this? And how can I bring this business to the next level? I think for me, my background had allowed me to bring a lot of that diversity of experience. So underwriting, operations, sales, and marketing. I am not a finance person, so needless to say, that's been a learning experience for me. But it's allowed me to bring some of that level of experience into building something that can be long-term and sustainable, not just with the products that we had right now, but with the other things that we have started or are planning to start, or just growing the business in general. So there certainly is risk with that, absolutely. But I felt like I was in a place in my career where I could take that risk too. Ultimately that's what led me to joining Worldlink in 2023.
Nice.
And it's crazy is how fast time flies, right? 2.5 years into this, you're going through a whole remediation of your book that obviously takes multiple cycles to kind of cycle through the entire, changes with that. The relationship that we have with our carrier partner has strengthened even from them. But look, like that has taken a long time to get to where we're at right now. And our growth aspirations are sizable. It's something that we think that we can really take this business within the niche that we have, and make it even bigger than what we were at previously. So, yeah.
So let's get into some specifics here. So what were the products that you had at Worldlink when you got there, and what have you done to get to the products that you have now? How do you make those decisions? I guess that's what I'd love to dig into, because I think that whether you're coming into an MGA that's already existing or any kind of underwriting book, right, you have to the conversation of deciding what is that next product, or the first product, those things, and they might be a little bit different thought processes, but it's very important to understand what it is that you want to write in the first place. That is the core thing. It's your product. It's what you're selling. So how'd you make those decisions? How'd you make the changes to those and the decisions to make the leap that you've made now?
Yeah, great question. And I think there's multiple tiers to it. So our core products are casualty focused or in nature. So the two products that we had when we started, one is called corporate non-owned aircraft liability. Think of it kind of like hired and non-owned auto, but an organization or an individual that's utilizing a private aircraft, whether that's, it has wings, or it's a helicopter, or it's a drone, and they're utilizing it within their business, although they don't own the actual aircraft itself. The other one is a general liability product for helipads. So we primarily focus in the healthcare sector, hospital systems that have helipads on a rooftop, on the top of a garage, on the ground next to the ER. We provide a general liability product that fills the gap from their traditional GL that might exclude aviation. Not might, it definitely does exclude aviation. So
Sure.
We provide something that's niche and differentiated, but also needed for those types of business. And it's not just hospitals and healthcare. It could be, private equity, it could be real estate, it could be hospitality, but, the majority of our portfolio is comprised of businesses that sit in the healthcare space. For me,
did you have that? Did you have those same products then when you stepped in?
Those were the two products that were currently within the book when I stepped in.
And you still have those products right now?
Yep, still have those products now.
And then what changes did you make to those books, those products that you have now?
One of my goals when I joined the organization was really focusing on underwriting excellence, focused on making good decisions that ultimately, not only bring profitability to us, but to our carrier partners, right? The business is catastrophic in nature, right? We don't see lots of attritional losses in this type of portfolio of business. It's one large single airplane crash that will exhaust the, liability limits across multiple entities. It's not just ourselves. It could be the operator. It could be a company. It could be individuals that were involved in different companies, right? So, the product itself is definitely more catastrophic in nature. But my focus from the beginning was really getting a good grasp and being an organization that's focused on underwriting expertise and excellence. We want to make good decisions for our carrier partners. That's why they partner with us. That's why they come to us for our expertise. Obviously, that's kind of what lots of carriers within the MGA space do in general, right? That's not something that's new. But for us, and particularly when I joined, I really wanted to steer the business in that direction. Let's be really focused on good quality underwriting, understanding our risk, understanding what's in our portfolio, so that our carrier partners will continue to entrust their capital to us.
So a lot of what you're telling me right now it sounds like is the underwriting guidelines changed, not necessarily so much the product itself. So the insurance product, the forms, exclusions, conditions, et cetera, look pretty similar to when you came in, but the underwriting guidelines that you have, I'm sure you've worked with your carrier partner to continue to develop out, agree on, have maybe been refined a bit. Does that sound accurate?
I would say that's 95% accurate. I would say there are maybe one or two different types of coverages that, in the before I arrived, perhaps were not being utilized the way that we would have liked. And so we came in and kind of re-envisioned the product, underwrote the guidelines, and ultimately, we've been able to be more comfortable with certain exposures and certain terms and conditions within the policy that allows us to have those exposures within the product.
Sure.
Yeah. John, sorry to that. I was just going to ask John. So I think it's very interesting for probably a lot of people listening, right? This remediation of the underwriting, and things don't always go well, right? Especially when you're dealing with you expressed the kind of loss kind of patterns that can occur in this business. How are you doing that practically, John? And have you got did you leverage a broker? Did you have a broker in this relationship? Was that useful to you? What were the dynamics of the practicalities of these conversations?
They're really hard in the beginning, especially when you're trying to come in and put your own stamp on a business, right? And that's not just from the broker partners, but also with the carrier, right? And so, practically speaking, it takes a while to really move in the direction of like, okay, now we're feeling comfortable with how we want to underwrite. Now our broker partners who we've had established relationships with can be comfortable to come to us and say, we know you guys are doing the right things. We know that you can be a steady partner. So practically speaking, it wasn't just coming in and saying, hey, we're here, this is how we're doing it, right? Unfortunately, the fact is we had to rebuild some relationships with brokers. And even if we had personal relationships outside of this business, we had to rebuild some of those relationships so that they understand that we are a long-term viable partner for them. And that's not easy, right? It's not something you can just do from the beginning. So I think that's a great question. And I think it's something, when you're starting an MGA, it's full steam ahead. Everybody's smiling. This is great. But think about it when you come into a business, maybe like ours, that had some things that needed to be figured out. We needed to make some tough decisions. We needed to have some challenging conversations. And so far, knock on all the wood, we have been very successful, particularly in the last 12 months in reinvigorating our brand, reinvigorating the relationships that we've had, and rebuilding that trust with our broker partners.
I think getting rid of Typhon Risk and Dylan Brand Aviation was probably a good move for you guys. Probably saved a lot of money there.
A lot of money.
Dylan doesn't have a pilot's license, but I've heard that he likes to fly his team around.
Well, you're bringing it up as I break things beside me about radios and listening in, and there happens to be one directly beside me right now. So
just in case.
Is that an antenna on the top of that?
That is a foldable antenna, so it expands and. I can't get it on the whole screen here, but I know that Doug wants to make jokes he can't make right now, but that makes
so many
me even
jokes.
happier.
I'll keep it clean. I thought it was a fishing rod at first.
Oh my God. But I mean, the jokes that I can make.
See, Dylan's already top tier in this whole conversation just by pulling the radio out.
I got you.
John, you bring up so one super interesting, like what the product is. I was having dinner last week with a couple of people that get the insurance space, but there was like one founder there who was kind of like, he's an AI founder. He's like very opportunistic, but his view on insurance was completely different than like kind of what you set up and I think what you're doing, right? So insurance in general, like these catastrophic risks that can take place or losses that can take place. We couldn't transport people, right? Patients via helicopter without this. Just the industries that would grind to a halt, the risks that we are able to take. And I always like to go back to like the original purpose of insurance or how it started, right? The ships with Lloyd's, like those things just couldn't happen without insurance. But thankfully, by the end of the dinner, this guy was, and he's Gen Y guy, very nice, very smart, but just like starting to realize like, oh, insurance isn't just like State Farm and Lemonade, right? And these things that I think about at a personal level for insurance. It's like all the things I interact with in the economy that I wouldn't be able to interact with, but for the insurance that allows people to take the risks that they have. And I think your product it's a great example of that, right? Because unfortunately these things do happen, losses do take place. I would imagine more often with helicopters than with fixed wing aircraft, but getting younger people to understand that and how important this is as a financial service and how interesting it is as well. Like this is a passion you had as a kid, and being able to be involved in this, maybe not as an operator, but as somebody who allows this industry to continue to operate. I mean, most people would consider that a great job to have, to be involved like that. It's how do we convince younger people that there's way more to insurance than insuring a car or a life insurance policy? There's things as well, but
I think it's the question of the topic of human capital and talent and how we continue this business forward. It's the number one question. How do we convince people that this is a business that is not, I mean, it's sustainable, but it's something that can be attractive to young people? Look, I am very fortunate because I have entered this space with my specialization, right? So, I am an aviator by background. I have a passion for aviation, and I've been able to develop my career around that passion, right? But look, like this business still needs finance people. We still need technology, computer science majors. We still need operations leaders that can come in and talk about how you manage the organization from a back office perspective, right? I think that our storytelling needs to be crisper, more concise. It needs to be told in ways that can be digested on your phone, right? Think about just the media landscape in general. Then how do you translate that into a specific industry like insurance? And I think we have a real opportunity to do that. I think it's great though too that we are seeing more and more universities investing time and money and effort into building risk management and insurance programs. Obviously, we know the couple that are out there, but there are plenty of other universities, smaller in nature, maybe not, large followings, but are building insurance and risk management degree programs. I would also argue that we should consider the fact that you don't need a 4-year degree to be in the insurance.
Sorry, it's not just me, right?
So,
We lost John.
No.
Okay.
We lost John. I fully, he'll come back in a second. I fully agree with the sentiment, though. I think one of the great things we did when I was working at some large names here in the UK, like Marsh and people like that, was they had an apprenticeship scheme. And they had these younger people coming in straight from high school, effectively from secondary school into the business. And then you get 4 or 5 years experience in the sector, and they were ahead of graduates coming in at that level. So there's a lot
of need people to know from that, and I know this sounds absolutely crazy, but that these jobs exist in the first place and to look for it in any way at all. And one of those, I know that this is going to sound crazy, but I think we hide a lot of times our industry in a lot of ways because there's so much legality into it. And for example, you're not going to see a reality TV show involving a claims office, right? But maybe you can have you can have a show like The Office about something like that because it would be hilarious, right? There's there's almost no mention.
The Office was about a paper sales company.
Exactly.
I think you could. This would be much more interesting, Dylan. Some of the stories you told me about claims, as much as I like to poke fun of you about the boringness of claims, that's not really true. The process is boring. The stories are very interesting.
They are.
Some of the ones that
we're gonna have to get John to tell us some stories about claims when he's back. Dylan.
Yeah, I also wanted to tease him that I'm starting a rival MGA that is going to only provide insurance for Osprey helicopters and Robinson aircraft. And I just want to, I just want to know what he thinks. But he's left us.
I have customers for you. You can take them all.
No, I'm sure he's not writing this. But and I gotta say the one thing that was okay about that freezing just a moment ago, because this is unfortunate that he's not here. He had perfect hair the whole time. He was just sitting there frozen. I was like, how did he do it?
He's extremely well put together.
Stuck in a very bad position, don't you?
I know. I look terrible no matter what happens. It doesn't matter which frame you take. Well done, him.
No, I agree, Dylan. I agree with you.
You agree that he looks terrible?
we all look
okay.
terrible next to our guests. They're always well put together when they come on.
They are.
Other than Peter, are you at Lloyd's right now, Peter? In your Lloyd's office?
I am. I'm forced to wear a shirt. Yeah.
Well, we should do a podcast without shirts on at some point.
Well, forced to wear a button shirt, correct?
No, actually, my wife brought up that, yes, I'm bringing my wife into this, that Peter was not wearing a shirt in a LinkedIn post. So
unbelievable. Which one?
I think you remember, right? It was a Loro post for you were running or something. And,
true. Actually, true. Yeah, completely checked that. Yeah, that was a bit of a disgrace. I think I didn't get flagged up on LinkedIn or any warnings for that. But explicit content.
My wife's like, you know, your co-host is naked on LinkedIn, right? And
everyone check out my LinkedIn now.
Not naked enough.
Oh God. All right. We're gonna leave for
Dylan, you were just in Paris while we're waiting. Peter, do you want to? We can see if we can get John back on.
Yeah.
Dylan, you were just in Paris.
I was, and I had to spend the night in yes, not Texas, Peter. Some of us do go to Europe sometimes, even though Doug makes fun of me all of the time for not knowing what New York City is or something like that.
But it's you just don't like New York City or Europe.
So John, that's not true at all, Doug. Let's start there, and we'll go back to John. And I was just telling the guys that I'm starting a rival MGA to you, and we're only going to insure Ospreys and Robinson aircraft. What do you think about that?
Good luck to you. Yes.
Sounds good.
Look, I think there are, unfortunately, there's been, some events with those aircraft in particular. I don't know if they're necessarily bad per se, but that's just a different type of risk, right? I do think you probably could make, a sizable margin on that type of business. So we'll just say, the premiums would be high.
So John, that actually is a great question. Are you E&S, I'm assuming?
No, so we're 100% admitted.
Wow.
Which is very interesting. About half of the U.S. states do not require form and filing for an admitted aviation product, so that makes the market very unique. However, our E&O product, which we launched last year, is non-admitted, so it's a different avenue to a little bit of I wouldn't call it a hurdle. It's just a different way of conducting business, for a lot of these aviation specific brokers and producers who generally work in the admitted space.
So sorry, this is one of your new products, the E&O product, and it's an E&O product for brokers that are selling the insurance to aviation companies or to the aviation owners.
No, so you asked earlier kind of, what were the kind of core products that we had and what we had been thinking about on a go forward basis. One of the first things that I did when I joined was I wanted to talk to our broker partners about, what's in the market right now. What are some things that they feel like are missing, that they need, that they have problems trying to place. And the first thing that came to a lot of minds from multiple partners and people that I had spoken to was a professional liability product that targeted the aviation and aerospace sector. It's very much a white space, I think, within the industry. E&O for aviation is challenging. More traditional admitted SME, MPL type players might have some of these exposures within their portfolio, but then ultimately choose to non-renew them because they just don't want aviation exposures. So it's very niche within a niche already. And so we brought that to market about 15, 16 months ago. A couple of differentiators for us. It is E&S, but it allows us to be a lot more flexible with terms and conditions. In addition, there was very little competition in the space. So it was an avenue for a product that we could bring to market relatively quickly that our broker partners needed. And so we brought that to the market. It's our third product. It's one that's growing for us that we feel has significant runway, no pun intended, for growth, and is an avenue for growth for us that is very much differentiating than what you would traditionally see in the financial lines or even the E&O market.
And what does that actually cover then? Like what are the risks that
Sure,
the exposure there?
So what's interesting about the aviation space is the wide diversity of exposures that you can see within the space. We liken it to general liability. When my colleague Josh Grunt and I were, underwriting together at AIG about 15 years ago, we were underwriting general liability, CGLs. It's an ISO-based form with some aviation definitions in it, but it was such a wide gamut of aviation exposures. It could be what's called a fixed-based operator, the place where a private plane pulls up and you get out and you can use their facilities. It could be hangared, stored. You could do maintenance. There's fueling, et cetera. That's one thing. It could be the premises for a small hangar at a small airport in the middle of nowhere. It could be for a manufacturer that's manufacturing products that go into aircraft. They have to buy general liability and products and completed operations. So that wide breadth of different exposures within the GL space has a very similar is how we view the E&O product, right? Professional liability, that's primarily target white collar exposures. What does that mean? Consultants, people doing design work, engineering, they might be doing auditing services, things that are more office type risk, where you're not necessarily on a premises, you're not necessarily turning a wrench, you're not an operator. That's kind of our primary bread and butter. They could be working for major manufacturers, Boeing, Airbus, Raytheon, Rolls-Royce. They could be working for tier 2 or tier 3 manufacturers. They could be working in commercial, private, or government space work. They could be working in sustainable aviation. That's something that's grown exponentially in the last 10 to 15 years. That could be drones. It could be the electrification of aircraft. It could be a variety of sustainable aviation fuels, lots of different things from that. So white collar exposure, very much within our appetite, but we do also look at more blue collar exposures. What does that mean? We're doing maintenance, repair, and overhaul work on an airplane. That could be changing a screw or a light fixture, or it could be pulling an airplane's engine out completely. We love charter brokers. So that's basically kind of a wholesaler between a person that's looking to charter a private plane and the operator themselves. We will look at things like companies that are appraising and buying and selling aircraft. Now, that's an exposure that definitely is more professional liability in nature. But so it's, as I've described, and as you can see, there's such a wide gamut within the space of the types of risks and exposure that we see, which allows us, with our aviation expertise, to partner with capacity providers or other insurance companies that might have more E&O expertise but has no idea about the aviation side, and we can work and partner closely to bring a product to market that is marketable and people actually buy.
John, you're bringing back bad memories for me of airplane maintenance, of sitting there while, let's say, an airline that starts with F and ends in Runtier makes repairs constantly to their aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me sit in airports, and it literally is a man with a screwdriver sitting there doing something. So,
Peter, what do we say about?
But one thing that I think is
potential sponsors.
You never know.
Well, so this episode alone, we've lost a major airline. We've lost Robinson and Bell. So
and Europe overall.
Only because of you, Doug.
Yeah.
Only because of you.
But what I'll say about
Europe, just for the record.
What I'll say about the wrench turning and screwdriver, while you're sitting at the airport drinking your coffee, is one thing that I think is attractive about the business from an E&O perspective is just the regulatory nature to it, right? It's subject to so much oversight, right? Particularly from regulatory bodies, not only US, the FAA obviously is kind of an international body that really drives thought and regulatory processes and oversight. But other organizations in Europe and Australia and Canada and around the world, right? It's so regulatory. There's so much regulatory scrutiny around it that I think it brings some more comfort to risk takers in be willing to do that.
Yeah, I don't mind the maintenance personally. I'd rather have it done than not. I always find it funny when people get really up in arms and they're like, "Let's get this plane off the ground." And I'm like,
No.
I'm all right. You guys go ahead. I've seen Final Destination.
Doug,
before.
that's not usually what's happening. People want the carrier to actually make better decisions and pull things out of service and have a replacement airplane for them. So,
from my point of view, yes, I agree with that, but I'm also like, I'm okay being alive tomorrow and still in Chicago. I'll just go hang out with John next time.
Yeah,
that's true.
Happens. That's true.
John, I love your background. Like how you got involved. But before insurance. So little personal info on me. I went to space camp and I was fully set on being an astronaut. Love aviation. Love space. These guys know, they make fun of me, but like insurance and working with insurance is really like my gateway drug into try to do asteroid mining at some point. I think that's
Okay.
what the future
He's
is.
brought that up more than once, to be
Well,
clear.
I mean, it's a real thing.
Those episodes.
I have a big passion for it. But so like your background, right? Wanting to be a pilot, like what was it? Was it just like you got to the point where you were thinking about doing it? Like for me, my eyesight went, and at the time, like you couldn't. Like I'm old enough where I think laser surgery existed, but to actually be, the type of pilot I wanted to be, you couldn't get eye surgery. It was like you either had perfect eyesight or you didn't, and that was the deciding factor for me. So all that money we invested in getting me to do that, we like my eyesight room. What was it? Was it something for you that said, hey, like this? Like, was it the economy? Was it? What? If you don't mind sharing, I'm curious, like kind of what pushed you into insurance instead of like going the full pilot route.
So just honestly, as a kid, I think I did my first exploratory flight. It was 1 hour. It was in a Cessna 172. It was from a tiny little airport. Both my parents were sitting in the back seat while the flight instructor and I, flew up it was south of Buffalo up to Niagara Falls, because you're allowed to do there's like a little circuit. It's actually like a written procedure that you can do around Niagara Falls, and then, exit whichever way you're going, into Canada, back to the States, whatever. So I did my first flight at, 11 or 12 years old. And I think that kind of was where the bug kind of hit me. Admittedly, I had no idea about the insurance business from an aviation perspective, outside of the fact that I think I bought liability insurance for renting the airplane when I started doing my flight lessons at 17. I started a little bit before then. I actually went to university to finish the program in the flying, but I really had no idea about the insurance business. So the economic downturn at the time, thousands and thousands of pilots were being furloughed. So essentially, they weren't working, but they could be called back to work for the airlines. But the other thing that I think that changed a little bit of my thought process was the number of hours that are required to be an airline pilot changed dramatically around that same time period. Before the American Airlines accident this year, the last like major accident in the States was the Colgan Air turboprop that crashed in Buffalo, actually. And the year is escaping me. I want to say it's 2000. Anyway, point is it was definitely before that time frame. And so the number of hours to actually be qualified to go work for an airline, to then go through their training program, to then actually sit in the right seat as a first officer, changed to the point where I just had to make a decision about, do I go be a flight instructor or figure out a way to pursue this passion, given the economic turmoil that had been happening at the time? Or do I try to find something maybe that's different to just get myself up off my feet, right after college, and then, still try to pursue that aviation, flying, job opportunity.
Yeah.
Being in Arizona helps because there's so much general aviation flying down there just because of the weather. So my thought process is like, all right, I'll go down there after, my parents are there. I can live for a year or two with them while I get on my feet, and, I'll figure out a way to go do the flying. Turns out I got this job working in aviation insurance at Chartis Aviation or Chartis Aerospace, and it kind of changed the game for me. So, yeah. It was, I don't know if it was necessarily one thing. I think it was kind of multiple events or just kind of what was happening macro wise.
I think what's so interesting is, regardless of what you're passionate about, there is probably an insurance niche definitely at a larger insurance company, right, that you could focus on, that you could take that passion and knowledge that you have and be a resource to that company, right? If just your general interest in it means that you have probably a better view than just like somebody generally hired for that position when you were early on. So that's another maybe like selling point to people coming out of schools. Like, it really doesn't matter what you're passionate about. There probably is like social media. There's what's it called, like publicity insurance or whatever. Like the people get for Peter. You're really interested in kidnapping. So there's the insurance that you
You
want
made
to
that
do.
sound, you made that sound quite sinister. Yes. Yeah.
No, purposely.
Yeah.
It's not the kidnapping that he likes. It's the ransom, the reward.
Right,
Yeah, the
really
ransom.
That's right,
The
yeah.
real draw for it. Yeah.
No, but I think
so-
that's true, Doug. Like, the aviation space the aviation insurance space is full of people that, have a passion for aviation. I would argue the marine sector is the same way. There are a lot, particularly if you're in risk consulting or in that space, many, or if not all of them, have some sort of background in ocean marine logistics, something like that. Right.
Yeah.
But look, and the MGA space is a great example of finding a niche or a passion that you have and being able to turn it into something that's, it could be a relevant insurance product. Peter, I think you and I spoke with someone a couple of weeks ago who had a passion in the AI kind of realm and how insurance can play a role in AI, right? Or how we ingest and work in the AI like space. That's very interesting, and it's probably not something that most people would think about. But this person probably had a passion for that, right? But also, Doug, I would say it's true that we also need to be thinking about those people that are working in accounting, are working in finance, are working in the non-front market-facing type roles, right?
Yeah.
And helping bring that passion for them into our space.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the majority of the work being done, right? Or at least a large part of it.
I made detailed notes ahead of this type of podcast, Doug, as you know, and I've got one word on my notes, which is drones. And I think we should definitely talk drones because John is the drone expert. And I can imagine, Dylan, it's the kind of thing you probably have at home as well, is it? Do you have a drone?
What are you talking about? I don't
pull a drone out of his desk.
No.
Honestly, it's probably that small. You can get one in the palm of your hand.
I only have very small drones. I've not gone into bigger drones. Like quadcopter type of little mini drones.
Do you put guns on your drones, Dylan?
Shh.
Yeah.
No
Maybe not guns, but things that drop and smoke, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, Doug, stop giving away my secrets. Number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, love to hear about drones, and then I've got real insurance questions for you. Let's go.
Sure. Okay. I want to start the drone conversation a little bit about, kind of our overall philosophy as an organization. One thing that, the aviation space in general has lots of MGAs, and there are lots of knowledgeable experts within the space that are insuring traditional airplanes for physical damage and liability coverage. But what we don't want to be is we don't want to be another hull and liability market, right? We want to bring niche expertise and products to the space so that when our brokers need us, they call us first. And the launch of our agriculture UAV or agriculture drone product is specifically with that in mind. The drone sector has obviously been something that has grown substantially over the last, basically within this century, call it the last 20 years or so. And while drone insurance in general is not a new thing, you can buy it direct, you can buy it through a broker, you can buy it on an app. The drone space within the agriculture industry is very much on the forefront of development and growth. As you can imagine, traditional agriculture aviation, if I'm spraying a fungicide, a pesticide, an insecticide, I'm spraying seeds on land, I am generally using an airplane or a helicopter to do that. Now, with the introduction of pretty sizable drones, ones that are probably, at least 6 feet in diameter, they're the width of someone's arm span. These vehicles are being used to spray chemicals autonomously. And it's significantly changed an industry that one can argue is definitely in need of technological advancement. And I would say that in agriculture in general, not just within the aviation space. So we brought this product to market this year. It is technically a hull and liability product, but it is very focused and niche in this space. And then again, it's something that when our broker partners need it, they call us. We also utilize technology to streamline and make it as efficient as possible for these drones to be insured through us. Our brokers access a portal that we have developed our own product that they can straight through process, quote, bind, and issue within minutes, which has been a significant driver of growth for us. But also just from an efficiency perspective, our brokers are like, this is great. Because again, it's high-low type business. Our philosophy or our kind of motto is we want to work in the SME space and partner with carriers that maybe have more complex needs within the aviation space or just in general. Maybe they're focused on large, complex, large dollar amount type risks, but want to diversify their portfolio into something that's a little bit more high-low process type driven. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean every product that we have is a $3,000 policy, right? We range from $1,500 to $500,000. But the point is that we bring them efficiency and we bring them a solution that allows them to diversify their portfolio with products like an ag drone product, where they would never see that type of business because it was just too small for them. So we're really proud of what we've built so far. The 2025 season for us has been really, really strong. We consider ourselves a market leader in the space, and our broker partners are consistently calling us asking for our solution for the space. We are one piece of the entire puzzle of what is the use of a drone within the agriculture, industry. You would be shocked to see the different industries, the different support, the different things that go to make up an operation. And we're happy to be a part of that and to hopefully sustain and even grow, also no pun intended, an industry like agriculture, which is so significant to the US economy. And we hope that our product and allowing these operators to conduct their business with efficiency and speed brings them, their own ability to grow and scale as well.
Thanks. All right, this is speed round. We have almost no time left, so let's knock out a couple. One, claims handling. I'm assuming you have a TPA for that, or is it your carrier who's taking care of your claims?
Carrier takes care of our claims, except for the E&O, which is a TPA.
Okay, and how did you select that TPA? What went into that?
Honestly, it was an interview process. We interviewed 3 different TPAs. This is not a secret. Our primary capacity is Lloyd's of London for the E&O. So we've worked closely with our lead carrier, Beasley, to find a solution for what we feel like would be the best TPA option for us. Again, we also see the E&O as more of a catastrophic in nature type risk. We're not going to see tons of attritional losses, but what we wanted in a TPA was someone that could understand who we are as an MGA, but also understand the aviation business. I think that's crucial to have that expertise in-house. And so the TPA that we chose was one that, brought that multifaceted solution.
Okay, awesome. Now away from claims, even though I have lots of claim questions, I'll have to go to Chicago or meet you at a conference and we'll talk some.
Sure. Yeah.
Other big thing right now is the automation, the use of AI, the use of computers in general, whatever you want to call it, AI, ML, just processing through automation in one variety of way or another. So what is, we talked about youth coming into insurance. What jobs are going to be left for them? And let's specifically talk in the underwriting space. How do you ensure that you have a future in underwriting? How do you see the use of this technology coming in, and how is it going to impact the number of employees, to be quite frank, in that space in underwriting? Why can't we treat, why do we need that human?
Without a doubt, I'm not the first person to say this, and I won't be the last person to say this. The insurance industry is still a relationship-driven business. It still requires people-to-people interaction to ultimately come to a solution for the client that, you know, brings them what they need, right? I'm a firm believer that technology is an aid. It is not a replacement for people. Now, what does that mean, though? Right now, for me to find out what a client does, like what is their business, how long have they been in business for, looking at an application to determine what the risk factors are for us to make a decision around our pricing rationale, for me to analyze my actual versus technical premium, all of those things I'm doing manually right now. Those are things that could be, and it takes up time and effort, where I could be utilizing technology to aid myself in making better underwriting decisions. For me, when I joined WorldLink, that was a huge, and it continues to be a huge priority for me, is how do we utilize tech to be able to help us streamline some of these decisions to then allow us to quote bind and issue things faster. Because at the end of the day, our goal, it is to grow and to be a profitable business. That's business 101, right? But you know, how can we utilize technology to aid in that? I would argue I spend a lot of time now, not even on the underwriting part of it, but more around how do we use the technology to aid the underwriting process. So to answer your question, I do not believe underwriters are just suddenly going to disappear. I still believe it's a relationship-driven business. I think the technology and acumen of the newer generations actually helps them be better underwriters, because and again, I think it doesn't replace the relationship, face-to-face interaction, but having that acumen, I think, is really important to just being a better underwriter, to being a better salesperson. And I think just streamlining a lot of that will help us in the future grow our businesses.
That's great. Peter?
Yeah, I love that. John, super amazing episode. It's great to speak about products that we don't think we've had at all on this show yet. So very great insight. Thank you so much.
Dylan, don't let them bust your chops about that radio either. Okay.
That'll be well. Every show now.
They didn't know about that, so that was I really pulled that one out here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that
I'm like Carrot Top of insurance podcasting. I'm just
what's in your bag.
If you want to turn into a real geek, there's an app called Live ATC, Alpha Tango Charlie.
Oh,
and you can listen to air traffic. Okay, there you know.
Oh, yeah.
Air traffic control around the world.
Dylan's like, stop telling me
flight radar, all of that.
Yes, all the things. Yeah.
Okay.
So, John,
subscription. That's fine. It's whatever. Sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
No worries. Yeah. Dylan will be all over that. To finish, we love to ask guests, John, you probably heard this. If you ever listen to the show, we won't be offended if you haven't. We ask a legacy question to finish. So, you know, what's all you've accomplished today, what you hope to achieve, what do you see as your desired legacy when you finish with this business?
I've been asked that question more than once. And for me, it's, I think the biggest thing for me is being known as someone that was a good teammate, someone that led a team with passion, with integrity, but also being someone that people can rely on to help them in the ways that they need to, whatever things that they want to accomplish. It's easy to get into the mentality of but I am very keen, and I've been fortunate to be part of really good teams of we. And so I'm hoping my legacy will be one where people view me as someone that was a good partner, a good business person, had great relationships, but also was a good teammate.
Love that.
Amazing. Love that.
Cool. John, thank you so much for your time today. This is super interesting. I think we'd go on quite a bit longer, but we do have day jobs that we have to do, unfortunately.
This is really
I'm
great,
sure you have
guys.
some
Thanks
stuff as well. You
Yeah,
have a busy life.
I've got a few things going on today.
Yeah, a couple. Dylan needs to turn his radio on so he can listen in on whatever it is he listens in on to. But yeah, John, super appreciative of your time, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
John.
I really appreciate it.
Take care. All the best.
Good job, Peter, bringing another great guest on.
Yeah. Love him.
Yeah,
More to come soon.
Very interesting product.
He and I are gonna dork out over radios and aviation sometimes.
You should see if you can find him on that radio. Yeah. Maybe he has his own channel. I don't know quite how radios work. You can just, is it like a phone?
Well, I mean,
go from Virginia to Chicago.
Yeah, you need a license. So you don't just start grabbing radios and flicking them on.
I'll stick to my cell phone. I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay.
Guys, I am really sorry. I do have to go. I'd love to sit and chit chat with you about this great episode.
Next time.
We'll have to. It'll be in the show notes. We can type up. Why don't we use some of that great AI out there to just continue this conversation for us? We could replace all of us, all the hosts, with AI.
That's what I'm hoping for. I can't wait to retire from this show.
Yeah. Well, I can tell, Dylan. I was, like I said, I was a little down this morning, but I'm in a good mood now. I could keep this going. But
he's great. So
yeah, good stuff. All right, guys.
Have a good
next time.
See you next time. Bye.